This is a story about the most widely deployed database in the world. It runs on more devices than any other by a wide margin, and almost no one ever thinks about it. Not because it is obscure, but because it was built very deliberately to never ask for your attention. When you picture a database, you probably picture a place you go, a process humming somewhere in a rack, a port you open, a service you keep alive, a thing you log into and check on at 3 in the morning. A database in your head is something you run. Hold on to that picture because SQLite quietly breaks it. SQLite is not a server. There is no port, no daemon, no separate process to babysit, and no version of the client drifting out of sync with the version of the server. It is a library that compiles directly into your program and a single ordinary file on the disk. Your application is the client and the server both. The file is the database. That really is the whole thing. And because it needs nothing, it went everywhere. It is on the phone in your pocket, holding hundreds of small databases right now. It is inside the browser you are reading this in, keeping your history and your settings. It is on aircraft in Airbus flight systems at 30,000 feet. It is very likely on the device in front of you in more than one place, and you never installed a thing. How many are there? The honest answer is that no one can count them, but the people who make it estimate more than 1 trillion SQLite databases in active use, likely more copies than every other SQL database engine combined. By any reasonable measure, it is the most deployed database engine in the world, and it got there without anyone really noticing. Here is what that invisibility actually buys you. There is no server to start, no port to open, no daemon to keep alive, no credentials for the database layer, no skew between a client and a server that were built at different times. The entire category of operational work that databases usually demand simply drops to zero. Nothing to run means nothing to babysit at 3 in the morning. And it makes the hard things trivial. Your backup is copying the file. Your deploy is copying the file somewhere else. You can mail it, commit it to Git, drop it on a thumb drive. And the file is bit for bit identical on every machine, 32-bit or 64, big endian or small. One file, and it means the same thing everywhere. Now, running the world's data on a single file only works if that file never lies to you. So consider how it is tested. For every line of code in the library, there are roughly 590 lines of test code, full branch coverage, 4 separate test suites, each designed and maintained independently of the others. This is not the normal amount of testing. This is testing as an act of devotion. The discipline comes from an unusual place. The testing is modeled on the standard used for avionics, the software that flies aircraft, so they simulate the cruel things: power lost in the middle of a write, a disk that starts returning errors, memory that runs out, files that arrive corrupted. They test as if the software can never be allowed to fail because out in the field, on a billion devices, it effectively cannot. And so it keeps its word. Pull the power cord in the exact middle of a write, and when the machine comes back, the database is still whole. Not half written, not subtly corrupted, whole. It allows a single writer at a time, and it keeps a journal, so at any moment it can roll the entire world back to the last good state, as if the interrupted write never happened. That is not a feature on a list. That is trust earned in the worst possible moment. There is one more choice that makes it strange, and it is about ownership. SQLite is not open source with a license attached. It is public domain. The authors gave up their rights on purpose. Contributors sign an affidavit dedicating their work to the public domain so the code can belong to everyone and to no one at once. It is very deliberately unownable. No company can buy it and no license can be revoked. And it is built for the long haul. When Airbus adopted it, they asked the team to support it for the life of an airframe, about 40 years. The team said yes, and set the horizon at the year 2050. The same file format all the way down, still readable then. It is one of the formats the Library of Congress recommends for preserving digital records for the future, software written to outlive the hardware it runs on. So here is the quiet lesson underneath all of it. The best infrastructure disappears. It asks nothing of you, it makes no noise, and it is simply still there in the morning, holding your data exactly as you left it. SQLite is invisible not because it is small or unimportant, but because it earned the right to be forgotten. It never asks to be thought about. It just sits there, one file at a time, quietly holding an astonishing share of the world's data, the most deployed database on the planet, and it never once raises its voice. That is the achievement, invisibility done entirely on purpose. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments what you want me to explain next.